Coco. This is Pixar's latest animated film, and this is about a young boy who loves music. His passion is music. But, however, his family, they don't really like music that much because of some pretty shady things that happened in their family history. And so, yeah, the family does not like music. They just want this boy to make shoes, and this boy wants to join a talent show and goes to the grave of this one musician called Ernesto de la Cruz. And so when doing that, he gets sucked into the land of the dead. And yeah, here we are. This movie has been getting praised by critics and audiences. I think so far, 95% of the critics on Rotten Tomatoes loved this movie, or at least they liked it. And the audiences seem to be very positive about this as well. Now, I really like Pixar. They've made a lot of really great movies. Like, for example, some of the ones you see back there, Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, The Incredibles. The Incredibles is one of my favorite animated films of all time. And some others that would also be my favorites that I don't have on Blu-ray yet would include movies like Inside Out, Monsters, Inc. In fact, the trinity of Pixar movies, in my opinion, are The Incredibles, which is my favorite, Monsters, Inc., and Finding Nemo. Like, those are the holy trinity of Pixar movies for me. Like, I liked Toy Story. It's very enjoyable, but I wouldn't put it up there as one of the greatest animated films of all time. Same thing with Toy Story 3. Haven't seen Toy Story 2 yet, but, you know, I do want to try to see that. I like WALL-E. WALL-E's fine, but really a masterpiece of animation. I mean, the beginning and end are amazing with the visual storytelling on what used to be Earth. That's really good, but no, for most of the movie, they're just on this one ship with fat people. And that's where the movie really loses my interest. For the most part, Up is really good. I love the beginning. Probably one of the greatest beginnings for an animated film ever. But then there's a plot twist villain, and then there's Cars, and, you know, I like Cars. It's not great, but I'm pretty sure nobody's gonna kill me if I say that I didn't love Cars. I'm not gonna go throughout the entire history of Pixar movies. I just wanted to give you my brief thoughts on Pixar and how I think of them overall. And overall, they've made some really great movies, but I don't really think every Pixar movie is a masterpiece of cinema. And so now we get to Coco, and once again, I feel like this is a pretty overrated film in my opinion. In fact, I don't even know if I can say this movie is good or bad. It's straight down the middle for me. There are quite a few heartfelt moments, and especially around the end. The ending alone saved it from being a bad movie to just a middle-of-the-road movie. The ending is very good, it's very clever. In fact, it even had me tearing up a little bit. But, however, there are also a lot of very big problems with this movie. One of them, oh my god, the dog is so annoying. I think his name is Dante. I couldn't stand it whenever the dog was on screen. He was basically the dog equivalent of Scrat from Ice Age, and I hated him. I hated whenever Dante was on screen. He was just so annoying, and his tongue was just out the entire time, and sometimes even wrapped around his face like a rope. Good lord, I hated Dante in this movie. And he served no real big purpose. What was the point of Dante being in this movie? Even when you think he's going to be very useful in the end, when trying to save somebody, it doesn't matter because something else saves the person entirely. There was no point for him to be in this movie. All he did was just drag it down with slapstick comedy after slapstick comedy, and it was just so bad. I hated Dante, the hairless dog, in this movie. He could just be cut out of the movie right now, and it would only get better. The movie would only get better with him out. In fact, a lot of the humor itself didn't really work in the movie. Like, whenever they try to do slapstick, it's very boring to watch. The slapstick is very boring to watch, because unlike movies like Kung Fu Panda, where characters will make sharp turns, exaggerated expressions, and just use sort of the environment and the fact that it's an animated movie to their advantage, with Coco, it's just going the same speed. Whenever somebody falls, it's like, oh. Like, it's there's no imagination within the comedy in this movie, which is just so bizarre. But it's, the comedy, I'm just saying this, the slapstick comedy is very, very, underutilized in this movie. Because there's not a lot of snappy dialogue to bring out the laughs. Like, The Incredibles and Finding Nemo and, Monsters, Inc. and Finding Dory, all those movies really relied on snappy dialogue for the, comedy to work. And it works to its advantage. Because they knew that, hey, if we're not gonna do slapstick that well, we can at least have some really funny dialogue. With this, the dialogue's not funny, so they just have to resort to slapstick, but the animation is just so uninspired for comedy that it just doesn't make me laugh. It just makes me a little bit bored, actually. There's even one joke that I think you've probably seen in the trailers and the commercials. It's not a spoiler joke, like, it has no effect on the plot whatsoever. It's just a dumb joke, where the grandmother wants the boy to eat tamales, asks if he wants some more tamales, and he's like, no thanks, or it was probably a Spanish word for that. I'm so sorry. I blame our education system. But in any case, then he basically says, no thank you, and then she goes, and then he goes, okay, I'll have some more tamales, please. And then the grandmother starts laughing and starts putting like 5 or 6 tamales on his plate. I mean, was that the joke? Hispanics love tamales? That's a joke? What? Like, at best, this is just a stupid joke that didn't make me laugh. Or at worst, this is a little bit racist. I mean, I'm not gonna cause a bunch of controversy. It probably was not intended to be racist. I'm not even saying I think it's racist. I mean, it's a little bit, it raises my eyebrows a bit as to why they would make that joke. It's probably not racist. It's probably just some stupid joke that I just don't think is very funny. Now, let me tell you the biggest screw you this movie has to offer. I mean, when they did this, I was thinking in my head, oh my god, they better not be doing this. This is so stupid. I've seen this done so many times. Now, remember when I said My Little Pony, the movie review? When I said that Tempest is a way better villain than most Disney villains these days because she was developed, had a lot of screen time, and wasn't a stupid plot twist villain? That's the villain in this movie! Yeah, apparently there is a villain in this movie. They just never showed him or her in the trailers. Like, ugh! And yeah, I'm not gonna say who it is, but my god, it's just another disposable Disney villain that isn't a villain at first, but then, whoops, it turns out that that person was the villain. Why? Why? Why are we going back to these stupid Disney tropes? And that's weird. Like, Disney in recent years has been trying to, get away from their old cliches that they've done in the past. But by doing that, they're adding newer, worse cliches. And one of them, probably the worst one of them all, the plot twist villain. I hate those. Why? This movie didn't even need a villain. There was no point for this movie to have a villain. And then they just throw a villain in there last second. Good God. The villain in this movie is just as forgettable as the villain in Zootopia, the villain in Frozen, the villain in Moana, the villain in, Wreck-It Ralph, the villain in Big Hero 6. Just, why? Why do we need plot twist villains that serve no purpose to the story other than to propel the hero? Now, yes, I know. But Christian, the villains are supposed to take a back seat to the heroes. I'm sorry, but I would agree if it hadn't been for the fact that every Disney movie that does have a developed villain is better. They have done better with critics, and audiences loved them. Like, what was it called? The Lion King? I mean, everybody loves The Lion King. People consider it to be the greatest animated film of all time. And that had a very memorable villain and a very memorable hero. The Incredibles Syndrome was awesome as a villain, and the heroes were also in the spotlight, and everybody considers The Incredibles a classic. Beauty and the Beast, a movie that was not only remade this year because of how timeless it was, but also the animated film got an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. And everybody remembers Gaston and Belle and the Beast. Don't tell me that the villains just take a back seat so that the heroes can have more of the glory, when clearly movie history has shown that you can do both, especially with Disney. You can have the best of both parties. You can have a very memorable hero and a very memorable villain. Just, good lord! Why? Why did Coco have a villain? And worst of all, why was it a plot twist villain? Now, some people will try to say to me, oh, but one of your favorite animated movies of all time, Kubo and the Two Strings, also had a plot twist villain. Here's the difference, though. The Moon King in Kubo and the Two Strings was always a villain. And everybody kept telling Kubo, hey, we need to get you to this place so that the Moon King doesn't come and steal your eye, because, you know, he's your grandfather and whatnot, and he wants to make you his protege. And what you might think was a plot twist when you find out who the Moon King was, it was kind of, I don't want to say obvious, but it was very much hinted at, because whenever you saw that character, you were uneasy. Something didn't feel right about that character being there. And even then, he was still the villain. He was still a villain the whole time. Plus, there were the two daughters, like the weird Rooney Mara characters who wore those really creepy masks. So even if the Moon King wasn't that great of a villain, which I do think he was because he was properly set up, you still had those two characters, meaning you still have two sources of conflict coming right at you, and it was memorable. So Kubo and the Two Strings set up its villain perfectly, and even then it had two other villains that were very menacing. Coco just has a plot twist villain for the sake of a plot twist villain. There's no point in there being a plot twist villain. Yeah, certain scenes may not have worked out the way they did, but overall you could have still had a very touching story. I mean, minus the really stupid jokes and minus that stupid dog character, Dante. God, I hate Dante in this movie. So yeah, Coco is a very mixed bag for me. And like I said before, the ending to Coco is so well done and so well thought out that I really feel like it saved me from calling it a straight up bad movie. Like, not a terrible movie, but it could have been just a bad movie. Right now, I feel like Coco stands in that very middle ground for me. I do not think Coco is a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes animated film. No way, shape, or form. This is not that good of a movie. I wouldn't even say Coco is a good movie, or even really a bad movie. It's just straight down the middle for me. There are so many things that do work, and so many things that most certainly do not work in the slightest. So, I feel like I'm going to have to give Coco a 5 out of 10. Not a 95%. No. If you do want to see this movie, I suppose it's harmless for kids, but, I mean, other than the ending, you're not really going to get much out of it. It's just there. It'll keep them entertained for a while, but like I said, other than the ending, there's nothing else for them to really latch onto. And that's a shame, because I know for a fact that Coco is going to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. Because for some reason, the Oscars just love to praise Disney and Pixar for whatever they do. Like I said, I don't think Coco is good, I don't think it's bad, it's just straight down the middle for me. Very mixed reactions to it. So, what do you think of Coco? Are you going to go see Coco this weekend? Watch Justice League, please. Justice League needs your money. And before I sign off, I want you guys to tell me what you think of this new camera setup. I mean, I still have my old camera and whatnot, but with this, it has 1080p, and I can actually look at myself through the screen. But however, one of the drawbacks for that is I don't know if the audio is as good, and of course the frame rate is a little bit slower. So tell me what you think down in the comments below, what you think about the camera and Coco. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like, share the video so we can get the channel circulated, and if you want to see more, click this. days!